So, welcome to the CP213 review session number 1. My name is Mila, and I'm here today with Tobin and Noah, and we're gonna walk you through the Intro to Java, OOP, console input, output, and flow control. So, let's hop over to the next slide. And let's start. So this is kind of our agenda for today. It's not going to be a crazy long session. We got 3 kind of main things we want to go over in today's session. So firstly, we're going to start off with Intro to Java and OOP design, so object-oriented programming. Introducing y'all to the language. And then secondly, we're going to go through console input and output, so how to interact with the computer. And then third, we're going to go through flow of control, so how the program flows between the code. So yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be covering in today's session. So let's move forward. All right, so here's just a quick little reminder on some useful links and resources you guys should check out if you ever get stuck on anything. So the Math and Stats Learning Support Center, definitely a great place. You can go in, get some homework help, and it says for lower level CS courses, but that's not just first year. You can go in for second year, I'm pretty sure. I can definitely double check that in case, but yeah, so definitely go check it out if you need some help. Also, online editor is also a really great tool. Replit is a good one, great for Python, great for Java. So if you ever need some help, that's definitely a great place to go to. But all right, let's go on to the next slide. All right, and also as well some mental health resources. Yeah, we know university is very challenging and difficult, so don't hesitate to reach out. Here's some resources: the SafeHawk app, Student Wellness Center, and the Delton Gleb Counseling Center. So go check it out if it's necessary for you. But yeah, all right. So let's start off with the actual content in today's session. So just a quick kind of intro. Let's talk about Java. So some fast facts. It was created by Sun Microsystems team, led by James Gosling in 1991, now owned by Oracle. It's an object-oriented programming language. So that's kind of gonna be our bigger focus here, is we wanted to get you guys more familiar with object-oriented programming. So I'm going to talk about them in the slides going the next couple of slides. But for now, here's just some background info on Java. It's a high-level language, and it supports arithmetic operations such as addition, subtraction, etc. And then also primitive variable types as well. So you can see them below. We got our Boolean, our character, our byte, short, integer, long, float, and double. So we've got I won't go too into depth on these. I'm sure you guys already are familiar with some of these variable types, but yeah, this is important to know. Float, so it's 4 bytes, double is 8 bytes, and then as well, your byte, it's 1 byte, short is 2. So I think this is also posted on Bohr, so if you ever need a refresher, definitely go and check that out. Great. Bohr is also a really good resource. Just all the notes and the lab stuff is really good to help you as well. But yeah, so some more definitions. So a high-level language, so it's readable and writable by people. It requires translation for computer execution, and that's what Java is. Machine language is computer understandable language. Low-level language, machine language, or similar. Compiler translates high-level language to low-level language. So yeah, you're gonna learn, I think, ARM, which is a low-level language, but that'll be later in your second year. But yeah, so let's move on to the next slide. So what is object-oriented programming, or as in short form, OOP. So we've got our modular programming. So this is what you guys were doing in 104. Yeah, 104. So that's basically where code is organized into separate modules or functions, each responsible for a specific task or functionality. So in modular programming, there is no ob it's not object oriented programming is made to give you kind of that a better real life sense of what's going on in your code. So here in modular, it's these modules can be grouped together logically, and the program flow typically involves calling these modules sequentially. And object-oriented programming versus object is that object-oriented programming organizes code around objects which are instances of classes. Classes define both data, so attributes, and behavior methods. So objects encapsulate data and behavior related to a particular concept or entity. The program structure revolves around defining and interacting with these objects. So that's kind of the whole idea, was that they wanted to create object-oriented programming to give you a more like real-life sense, or to show you kind of a real-life application of what is going on in the code. It helps you kind of make more sense of it in a way. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is kind of in summary. So modular programming is about writing procedures or methods that perform operations on the data, while object-oriented programming is about creating objects that contain both data and methods. So for example, this is what I meant more when we talk about like real world, a real world example kind of. So a class could be potentially fruit, but different objects within the class fruit could be something like apple, banana, mango, kiwi, right? They all have this similar kind of, how do I say, like characteristic of it being a fruit. So they all fall under the same class. And that's kind of the same idea when it comes to object-oriented programming. And that's kind of the basis of how the whole design really works. So I'm going to pass it over to Noah right now, and he's going to walk you through the console input and output.
Hello everybody, my name is Noah, and we're going to go over console I/O with Java now, starting with input. So I have a screenshot here of some code, and we'll just go over it line by line. So the first line is package CP213. So I don't know if you've been shown the whole hierarchy thing yet, but still within the hierarchy of where like the code is stored, the package is even above the class. We always work within packages, right? So never forget to include that top line of which package you're in, because like that will be something that comes up on the exam, this topic. And so that's just something that you need to remember, that like the package is something like is going to is just like, yeah, just remember to include the package in your code, because that will be something tested on in the course. But anyways, the next line is import java.util.scanner. And that's importing the scanner class, because we want to use a class called scanner in order to accept user input from the keyboard. So we have to import this class in order to use it. And then we have public class review session. So this is just a random class I made just so I could write code for this screenshot for this review session. In this class, main method, so public static void main, and within this main method we do the following. So we first make a new scanner object. We just call it scanner, not very creative name. We do scanner equals new scanner system.in. So we're making a new scanner object, and that scanner object will be taking input from the standard system input, which is the user's keyboard. And then we do system.out.print enter your name. So this is going to print the line enter your name, and we're not doing print ln, we're just doing print, so there's not going to be a printed line break. So it's going to say enter your name, and then we say string name equals scanner.next line. So that means when we say enter your name, on the same line as that enter your name, we'll be able to type out our name and input it to the scanner. And then it's going to store it in that variable called name, which is a string. And scanner.next line, that means that the scanner object we have, it's going to look for the next string. Once it finds the next string, it's going to store it into that variable called name. And then we do system.out.print enter your age. Again, print, not print ln, so that we don't do the next little bit of stuff on the next line. We do it on this line. So we say enter your age, and then on the same line, we say int, we input the age, and we store that in a variable called int age, and which is scanner.nextInt. So the scanner is going to look for the next int coming from the system.in, and once it finds that int, it will store it in the age variable. And then we do system.out.print ln, and this is going to print a line break after we print out this line. Even though with the output of that program, we wouldn't necessarily, with this current program here, we wouldn't necessarily be seeing that line break. This is printing a line break after it prints the line, because it's print ln, not print. But we use system.out.println, hello, comma, name, you are age years old. So let's say if I would have inputted this Noah and age, I would have inputted 19. It would have said hello, comma, space Noah, exclamation point, space you are space 19 space years old period with all the other spaces that you saw before, like, yeah. And then we do scanner.close, so that like closes the scanner when we're done using it, just because like we don't need to have that object being in memory and stuff if we're not going to be using that object for collecting the inputs. But yeah, so that is how we do console input with Java. Now on to console output, which was actually basically already shown, I guess, in this slide, but we'll still cover it anyway. So console output. So system.out.println is for the console output, and system.out is an object that is part of the Java language, and println is a method invoked by the system.out object that is used for console output. So the data to be output is given as an argument in the parentheses, and you use a plus sign to concatenate these strings. So at every invocation of println, um, ends ends a line of, sorry, every invocation of like println ends like a line of the output and it's a new line on like the next like place for a line. So it basically it does a line break. So now we have a little code example again. So we'll go over it. So package CP213 for the same reasons before, and then this is actually like the same class and the same main method, right? Like as you can see, its class name is the same and main, the way I put in main is the same, but then the body of the main is different. So it's a lot simpler. We just have one system.out.println, the answer is 42, and then you see the console output. So in this case, what's happening, because we put the plus beside the string and then the integer, Java is just, it knows to concatenate that integer as a string, because it's very smart that way. But so like that's how it's doing. But yeah, so it's showing that output with it as like as a string. We could also like put the 42 in quotes, and then that would be concatenating two strings together into a string. This is concatenating a string and an integer into a string, but it still works, because Java supports that with the plus operator between a string and an integer. But yeah.
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sweet. So, my name is Tobin, everyone. So now I will talk about flow of control. So Java has branching mechanisms. So we have if-else statements, we have if and switch statements. Java has three types of loop statements, which are while, do while, and for loops. Etching and looping in Java rely on Boolean expressions. So a Boolean expression is basically just like, it's just a statement whether that we decide whether it's true or false, and those are the only two values that comes out of a Boolean expression. And an if else statement basically selects two options based on a Boolean expression, as I mentioned before. So in this example that I have here, if the Boolean expression is true, then the yes statement is executed. Otherwise, the no statement is performed. Now, next, I'll just talk about a nested if statement. So basically, to summarize a nested if statement, it's just one if statement inside another, so just layered inside another one for allowing multiple conditional checks in a program. So in this example that we have here, we have variables x and y. So the first if statement that we have, which is the parent if statement, is if x is greater than y. So since 10 is x, is greater than y, which is 5, Then we move on to the next if statement, which is inside the parent if statement, which is if x modulus 2 equals 0, meaning that if we do 10 divided by 2 and the remainder is 0, it's going to perform the line, the print statement, which is saying x is greater than y and even, which is the case for 10. So now moving on to the next slide. I'm just going to talk about switches and loops. So a switch statement in Java is a control flow statement that allows you to execute different code blocks based on the value of an expression. So we can treat case kind of like the if as part of the if statement, and then default is treated as the else statement. So if none of the cases, if the value that we have in the switch statement appears to be none of the values in the cases, then it'll automatically go to the default statement, which is else, and perform that statement. So just to kind of make this more clear, I just have an example right here. So we have a variable named choice, and choice is set to 2. So we basically use the line switch choice, and then inside that choice statement, we have 3 different cases. So if choice is 1, it's going to say we chose option 1. And if it's 2, it'll say we chose option 2, and so on and so forth. So in this case, since the choice is equal to 2, that means in our switch statement, case 2 will be performed, which is saying we chose option 2 in this case. Now, it's important that we include a break whenever we do have a case statement. This is just so that the loop is terminated after the statement is basically performed. And this is not required for the default statement. This is only for case. So next, I'll just talk about the for loop. So a for loop in Java is a control flow statement that allows you to repeatedly execute a block of code a specific number of times. So in this for loop, we have basically int I equals 0, and we have a semicolon which breaks in between. And we're basically saying that if I is less than 5, we have another semicolon, we're going to increment it by 1 every time we perform the for loop. And inside this for loop, we print out the iteration and the number, so the number of the iteration. And you'll notice that in this for loop, if we were to execute it, this for loop would run 5 times because we start from 0 and we go all the way to 4. So now I'll talk about a while loop. A while loop in Java iterates over a block of code while a specified condition is true. So in this case, we have a variable I, which is set to 0 at the beginning of the program. And while I is less than 5, we're going to print out the iteration number. And after we print out the iteration number, unlike the for statement, the for loop, where we were able to increment it inside the argument, we actually have to increment the variable I inside the while statement itself. So in this case, it's the same thing. It's also going to perform 4 times since we start from 0 and we go all the way to 4. So iteration 0 all the way to 4 will be printed. All right, so that's just the end of the presentation. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and me, Noah, and Mila will do our best to answer them.
Okay, so I'm gonna assume there are no questions. If you guys do come, if you do come up with any questions, feel free, come by the event on Thursday and we can answer them there. If not, then I think this concludes today's session. I apologize for the technical difficulties we had. So we'll definitely fix that for the next time going forward. This session is recorded. You can check it out on YouTube as well. We also have the 104 and 164 ones up as well. So if you need those, check them out too. But yeah, I think that's everything for today's session. Again, guys, we're all really sorry for the technical difficulties. It won't happen again next time, I promise. Please come out to the midterm review session. I believe it'll be in person, unless I'm completely wrong again. But yeah, come out. It'll be good. We'll have some snacks and some things going on. So yeah, I think that's everything. Oh yeah, and please make sure to fill out this event survey. I'll give a couple like a minute or so. Um yeah, sorry, we had a lot of technical difficulties. All right, I think that's that. And yeah, all right, that's everything. Thank you so much for coming out. And hopefully we'll see you guys all Thursday. Oh, also, Hawk Hacks closes, the exact applications close Sunday. So, if you're interested, you should definitely join that as well. But yeah, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.